we talk about Surah Yasin. And I think these sessions, inshallah, will be unforgettable, because we talk about one of the surahs that lots of people are attached to. And yesterday, if you remember, when we talked about a little bit of introduction to the surah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started the surah with Yasin wal Quran al Hakim. I don't know if you still remember, maybe Brother Muhammad will remember, we talked about Surah Yasin. We will try to handle or to talk about 6 portions, 6 pieces of the surah. So we talked about actually 2, and today is the 3rd one. So we talked about Yasin wal Quran al Hakim. We talked about how the Quran is full of wisdom, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had granted us the guidance through the Quran. And then we talked about the other phase, or the second piece of the surah, which is the messengers. So we talked about the power of the message and the qualities of the messengers, the relationship between the message and the messengers. So that's number 1 and number 2. And do you still remember what was the main theme of the surah? We talked about the revelation of the Quran. We talked about that this surah had talked about the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Since it's surah Makkiyah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned his qudra. Allah is talking about his qudra, his power. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually in this surah, and that's number 3, Allah is talking about his qudra. And that's the piece or the portion number 3, the qudra of Allah. And what does it mean? Qudra. Qudra, and I think also maybe in Urdu you have qudra, qudrat, right? Qadar. Okay, qadar may be the destiny. Yeah, but what is power? Huh? Taqat. Yeah, taqa like energy or power. Yes. Yeah, they see. And qudrat. So do you have qudrat? Huh? Honor. So yes, qadr. Yes, like inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. Okay, but if you just focused on this, qadr means like you put sukun on dal, so it will be appreciation or honor or status, dignity. But when you talk about qudra, that is the power, the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why one of the names of Allah is Al-Qadir. Al-Qadir. That's why we have Abdul Qadir. Abdul Qadir. But let me ask you, do you have qudra? Do we have qudra? We have qudra. Okay, but our qudra is limited. Of course. What about the qudra of Allah? Unlimited. And that's why we recited today, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. That's the manifestation of the unlimited power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He puts his destiny and his qudra, his power, his might in just 2 letters. Kun fayakun. Be, and it will be. It will happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and I want you inshallah to focus on this point, because next week inshallah we're going to continue the qudra of Allah, but it will be connected to tonight's lecture. So whoever will miss this lecture cannot get the other lecture. They are connected together. So Allah said, وَآيَةٌ لَهُمْ. وَآيَةٌ لَهُمْ. It's a sign for them, for all of us, for the creation of Allah. الْأَرْضُ الْمَيْتَةُ أَحْيَيْنَاهَا. Allahu Akbar. The dead land, we brought life to it. We sent life to the dead land. What does it mean, a dead land? Poor. Okay? Barren. has nothing, cannot produce crops, cannot give plants, and maybe in a desert. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أحييناها. We sent life back to this land. But can you tell me, and I want you to grab this quickly, Muhammad, how Allah is going to send life back to any land? Through what? Rain, water. That's great. And you know what? In every process, in planting, like all of the process can be done by you, except one portion, which is the water. You can get the seeds. You can put the seeds, take care of the land, clean the land. But where you can irrigate, how can you irrigate? You need to get water. Who sent that water? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I will do now 3 pieces of comparison. What else can be dead? We said the land was dead. No. What else in our life can be dead? Huh? People, our bodies, right? Okay. Who will bring life to these dead bodies? Okay. What else can be dead in the Quran? Hearts. Who can bring life back to hearts? Allah. Now let me make that 3 pieces together. We have a dead land, a dead body, and a dead heart. Listen, Allah said, وَالْأَرْضُ الْمَيْتَةُ, the dead land, we will bring life back to it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in the other surah, Surah Al-An'am, Allah said, أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهُ. So Allah said, what do you think about a person that he is dead? Means his heart is dead. And we will bring back life, we will bring life back to this heart. And we will make that heart to shine again. So he will acquire, he will earn some light. With that light, he can walk amongst people. So that is Allah. Now, let me take you back to the land, the dead land. What is the main thing that will bring life to this dead land? Allah, through what? Water. The water comes from where? Springs, or from, mainly it is from the sky, right? Even what is in the earth, mainly it came from. That's why Allah said, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً مُبَارَكًا. We had sent a blessed water from the sky to the earth. That's great. Now, if you want to bring life back to the dead heart, how can you get this life back to the dead heart? Through what? Through Quran. From where the Quran came? From the same source. From Allah, from above, from the sky, from the heavens. So as Allah brought the life back to the dead land through water, which came from the heavens or from the sky, Allah will bring the life back to the dead hearts through the Quran, through the guidance, which mainly came from the sky, came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You got it? Now let's move to the dead bodies. Who will bring the life back to these dead bodies? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how? There is a process. And let me tell you the process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاللَّهُ أَنْبَتَكُمْ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ نَبَاتًا. Me and Malik, we were talking about this point, I think like 3-4 days ago, right? So we talked about وَاللَّهُ أَنْبَتَكُمْ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ نَبَاتًا. Allah will bring you out from the earth. like he brings out the plants. Like the plants will grow up, will grow. Means what? Do you know what? When we die, all our bodies will be demolished, will be, you know, finished. And nothing will remain except what? The little bone in the back of your back at the end. This is the little one, like a seed. This one, this area, this piece cannot be eaten by anything, cannot eaten by the earth, cannot eaten by the ground, can survive even in the midst of the worst of the conditions, earthquake, fire, calamities, whatever, it will survive. It has all the genes of you. It has everything. It has Hamza. It has Ahsan, Abdul Basit. All his genetic features are in this little seed. So yes, so where is that seed now? After we all died. In the ground, like a seed, like the plants, like the dead land. Then you know what? That is mentioned in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that in the Hadith. He said, if Allah wanted to resurrect all of us, Allah will send rain, heavy rain to the earth, to the ground. So that rain will come to these barren lands. And instead of getting plants, who will come out? Human beings. So we will come out. Allah will resurrect us exactly like He creates plants. And some of the scholars even went beyond this. The scholar said, this little seed, it has the features of dunya and the genetic features of the hereafter. Because the new creation will be the same creation. Okay, now let me repeat this. I'm afraid that you might lose the track. Okay, now, you remember that seed? It is in the ground. It has your features, genetic features of dunya or of the hereafter. You might say, Imam, what do you mean by the hereafter? Do you know that the hereafter, the akhirah, Jannah, inshallah, it needs different creation, different features, different capacity, different ability. So let's say that you passed away and you have the gray hair, white hair, okay? Will you wake up with the same gray hair? No. Will you be resurrected with the same structure? I mean, the physical height or the width, the same? No. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, all people will be resurrected on the same height like Adam. So we all will be at the same height like our Adam, our father Adam. He was 60 feet. Some narration said 60 arm length. So now you can calculate it. Okay, that's number one. So we will be so tall. Okay. Yes, we will be so tall. And not only this, what about the age? We will be at the same age, all of us, 33. That's the age of whom? Sayyiduna Isa alayhi salam. And we will have, the people of Jannah, inshallah, will have the beauty of whom? Sayyiduna Yusuf alayhi salam. Sayyiduna Yusuf, Allah had granted him half of the beauty. He was so handsome, So we will have, the people of Jannah will have the same beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam. That is the least. I'm giving you the minimum. So some of the scholars said that this little bit of seed, this little seed, it has the same genetics, the same features that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will create us again, will resurrect us again to be ready for the hereafter. Because our eyes are limited in dunya. Can you see behind the walls? Can you see who is behind me? Behind this wall? No. Can you hear who is talking in clear water? No. Can you see above the seven heavens? No. That's why Allah said in Surah Qaf, when we die, when we come to die, what is the first reaction? The first reaction. Allah had said that in the Quran, Surah Qaf. Allah said, فَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ غِطَاءَكَ فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. We will unveil, we will uncover your cover that was upon your eyes. And now, after we uncover it, your eyesight will be so sharp. That's why if you saw somebody just died, you will discover that his eyes was following a certain direction, where he sees the death, the angels of death. So whether they came from this side or from the middle, you will find his eyesight on one side, and it is so sharp, like he saw something he never seen before, like something he is not familiar to. Something, yes, the eyesight became so sharp towards that direction, means he saw things. Like many of the scholars, one of the great scholars, my dad is, no, he knows him very, very well. كان في العالم الكبير رحمه الله شيخنا الشيخ الشعراوي رحمه الله. Sheikh Sha'rawi rahimahullah, when he died, لما كان في موته, his son he asked them to leave that room, and his son was listening to his dad while he is dying. Sheikh Sha'rawi, one of the greatest scholars in last like 50 years, that he gave explanation of the entire Quran on the TV. Yeah. One of the best in the entire Islamic world. أفضل من كان من أفضل من فسر القرآن رحمه الله. So his son, like telling us, giving us the story, he was listening to his dad while he's dying. So Sheikh Sha'rawi started to say, وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ. Then he says one of the names of the prophets. وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ سَيِّدُنَا يُوسُف. وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ سَيِّدُنَا إِسْمَاعِيل. وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ. While he was laying down on his bed, he was hearing him. وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ. وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ. Then he said, وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ سَيِّدُنَا إِبْرَاهِيم. Then all of a sudden, his dad cried. And he said, even you, Ya Rasulullah, I do not reach to that level that you come to me. Then he said, وَعَلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامُ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ. O Messenger of Allah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he said the Shahada, and he passed away. So what did he see? Actually, he saw the prophets of Allah. So that means what? Our capacities, our eyesight, what we can see actually, it changes. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, listen to this. When the angel of death came to him, he came with Sayyiduna Jibreel. لما جاء ملك الموت إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم جاء ومعه جبريل. Jibril came with him. So he asked him, and he said, "O Messenger of Allah, Allah had sent me with the angel of death. If you wanted to stay forever, and that's your wish, Allah can do that for you. But if you want to die now, He's ready." Then he said, "Allah wants you." So he allowed the angel of death to come, and the Rasulullah saw the angel of death. He didn't see only Jibril, but he saw the angel of death. So that's my point here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَآيَةٌ لَهُمُ الْأَرْضُ الْمَيْتَةُ أَحْيَيْنَاهَا. It's a sign for them that the dead land we have resurrected. We brought life to it. And as Allah bringing life to the dead hearts and to the dead bodies, Allah is the one who has the absolute qudra. That's why, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what's his dua? Maybe Dr. Yusuf will answer this. The dua, Allahumma ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qulubana ala dinik. Oh Allah, the controller of the hearts, keep my heart steadfast. Keep my heart firm on your way. And that's the meaning. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Then what Allah said? وَالْأَرْضُ الْمَيْتَةُ أَحْيَيْنَاهَا. Then Allah said, we had brought gardens. We made to you after it was dead. We granted you in this dead land, we granted you gardens. جعلنا فيها جنات, gardens, من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون. We granted you gardens and palm trees, date palm trees, grapes, and we granted you springs of water gushing. وفجرنا فيها من العيون. And I will conclude with this. Let me ask you, when I told you gardens, rivers are gushing, springs, palm trees, did you connect this with a certain other place that Allah had mentioned in the Quran? Jannah. That's when Allah was describing Jannah. And that's why my point here, if Allah did not give examples about Jannah from our current life, we wouldn't be motivated to Jannah. Right? Allah mentioned Jannat, gardens. So now you have gardens in the dunya. And some people say, okay, but Allah mentioned grapes, a'nab, grapes. Imam, do you think that we will work hard just to eat grapes? I can eat grapes in dunya. I can get some dates from Imam's office. I tell him, Imam, give me some dates. Okay, so there is no need to work hard for Jannah. So do you think that Allah had made all of this just to eat grapes? Not only this, Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Allah said, وَلَحْمِ طَيْرٍ مِمَّا يَشْتَهُونَ. Fresh flesh of birds that they will like. Means what? You will eat the meat of some of the birds in Jannah. You can say, I can get quails, I can get pigeons, I can get some ducks maybe, okay? And that's all. But you know what? It's not the same. The food of Jannah, it's different than the food in dunya. What's my evidence? My evidence is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فيها ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. Jannah has the things that no one had seen before, no one had heard of before, and not even, I will use the Arabic word, khatara, to the heart of a human being. Khatara means what? You know khatira? Khatira of Fajr. What's khatira means? Something you are thinking of. Something had passed by your mind. Like something came to your mind. Not even something came to your mind. Whatever you are thinking of, Jannah is different. But you might say, Imam, but Allah said grapes. Yes, the name is the same. But maybe it's close to the dunya, but the taste is different. The way that Allah had made it is different. The color is different. But Allah had made that, parallel in the Quran because Allah wanted us to be more motivated to Jannah. That's why Allah used some worldly materials. So we can imagine. We said before, معرفة الشيء فرع عن تصوره. You cannot recognize or identify something except when you see it. If I told you, like I will pick up any word. If I told you Chloe, what is Chloe? Do you have something in your mind? Chloe, nothing is called a Chloe. Okay, if I told you banana, what happened? It was here in the back, the image. So once I said banana, so you got the picture in front of your eyes and it went back. So that's the same. If I told you Jannah has gardens, now you can a little bit imagine. So when you imagine the gardens, the grapes, the meat of the bird, when you imagine palaces, when you imagine pillars made out of gold and silver, when you imagine seeing the rivers, when you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ مُتَّكِئُونَ, they are reclining on nice couches. Okay? Reclining. Now you know what's the meaning of reclining. Well, you can imagine how nice, soft is your couch in Jannah. Okay? So that's why Allah made it with that. It will give us examples so we can imagine how Jannah looks. But Jannah is far away from our imagination. He just wanted us to be motivated to Jannah. May Allah let us all enter Jannah. Allahumma ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah, if Allah give us life and time for the next week, we still with Surah Yasin. Because next time we will talk about the scientific facts that Surah Yasin had, that Allah had mentioned in the Quran, and it was revealed upon the Prophet Muhammad 14 centuries ago, and it was discovered only recently. Some of these scientific facts were known only in the 50s and 60s. The human beings never knew these scientific facts before. But Surah Yasin had some of them. May Allah grant us ilm, grant us knowledge, and increase us in knowledge. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.